So if you've been watching lately what I'm working on, I found an AI image and I decided to make a character based off of it. You can see it in one of these, right? Oh, it's in this one that's been marked mature content. Anyway, I'm creating her, but now I'm creating some of the background objects. Like I just made a table and tablecloth, but now it's time to make a floor. And I decided instead of having a very boring floor, I'm going to have a very interesting looking floor like that. I created this already, but I'm going to recreate it now for you so that you can see how I did that. So let's just go ahead and delete those floor bits. Deleted. Alright, and now let's recreate them and show you how that's going. So the first thing you've got to do, I suppose I want to turn on my screencast keys. Oh, they're already on. Okay. There we go. For some reason it wasn't working. Now it's working. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is make sure and put your cursor to the world origin, or where you want the floor to be centered. What we're going to do is just add a plane. And let's solo the plane here. Go into edit mode, do edge slope divide. We're going to slope divide it just once and have 4 toilets. And then what we'll do is we'll go in face mode and we'll inset this just a tiny bit. And what we're doing here, normally we could use oh wait, right, before I inset I've got to do something else. So what we're trying to do, normally I might use a bevel modifier and a wireframe modifier to do what I'm about to do. I'm just going to add a little bit of 3D to these 4 toils, but because I only want to have a thin 2D shell, so that that will allow me to look at her from below and the whole floor will disappear. If I added a wireframe modifier and bevel modifier, you would see the edges of the floor here. So what I'm going to do is actually model it. Okay, so let's make this actually rather small. We're going to make it 0.1. A very small set of 4 tiles, actually. Maybe not quite that small. So these are going to be 4 tiles. Each one of those tiles is about the right size there. Alright, so I was going to inset, but because these are all joined, if I inset, I only get one inset face here, and I want to inset each individual one. So what I've got to do is face, extrude individual faces, and then just hit enter. And now there's 4 faces over these 4 faces already. And so if I turn off my proportional editing, and then do the center point of individual origins, then I can scale down these a little bit. And so now I've got 4 squares inside of 4 larger squares. And now what I want to do is take that whole area and raise it up a little bit. I want to take the whole object and I want it to be below the world origin. I want it to be flat with the world origin because that's where she's standing. Alright, and now I can take these 4 faces. Now I can start using inset, right? And what I want to do is inset these to a center tile here. And I want to inset it again just a tiny bit there and then bring that also down just a tiny bit there. So what's happened, right, looks good. Okay, so what's happened now is I've got 4 toils with a little bit of a, how would you see, a little bit of interest in there. Actually I want those toils to be a little bit smaller there, so if I turn proportional editing back on, then do size, scale, because I've got individual origins, again each of those 4 will scale down independently. Because I've got proportional editing on, it's going to pull the bevel bit near it along with the furtheroid. So now I've got about the proportion that I want, about like that there. So now let's do some coloring, right? We'll take these 2 here and take vertex paint here. We'll make sure we're in draw mode, sample this dark gray background, put it in face mode only, Shift key to fill it, and then let's take also use other outside bits of these other tiles and make those also black. Alright, go back into object mode. Now we've got a nice checker tile here that we could expand out and make into an interesting pattern for her to stand on, right? Alright, so let's do a couple things. Let's add 2 array modifiers. We'll take this and say do about 256 toils. Now if we turn the camera, we can see that's going way off into the distance there. Goodbye toils. And then let's add, I suppose, alright, we want this to be y -1 right there. Okay, so now what's happening is we can add a bit of depth to our long field of toils. let's do say about 20 of those. So now we've got 256 tiles running off in the distance here. We've got 20 tiles running down here. But that's not what we want. We want a circle, right? Alright, well then let's add a simple deform modifier. Let's do bend. Let's see axis there. Alright, well now that's bending around way off into the distance. Looks pretty cool. Let's stare at that coolness for a second. Alright, that's enough. Actually, we do need to set the coloring. I've created a glossy shader that casts no shadow so that the various times where I put the lamps below the floor, she won't be in darkness. Alright, so that's great. We've got a very long floor, but it does seem it doesn't go in a circle. Well, that's easy enough to fix. Let's change that to 360 degrees on there. There we go, now we've got a circle. It's a rather large circle though. Alright, well let's take our object and scale it down. There we go, those are very small tiles. And let's go into an overhead orthographic view. Let's move that this direction, the Y direction. I think we've got maybe too many tiles here. I think we only maybe want, let's say, half the number. Yes, that looks a little better. Alright, now if we move this on the Y axis like that, and center it, now she's standing in the center of this rather interesting object. Alright, that's the checker floor on the outside. Now let's add the bullseye, I suppose we want to call it, in the center for her to be standing on. Okay, so first of all we're going to add, just want to add a circle, but for some reason when I add circle it never works for me, so I'm going to start instead by adding a cylinder. Let's go give this thing 64 vertices around the side. That should be perhaps not enough. Let's make that 128. Let's grab that, move it up, and make it perfectly centered on the cylinder. We can zoom in a little bit to see what we're doing. There we go. Edit the cylinder again, scale it up. We actually want the cylinder to overlap a little bit over the floor, so we're going to make it a little bit bigger here. Then what we're going to do is highlight just the circle, I suppose, that's what we call that. And then we'll invert our selection, delete all the faces, grab that one, and we'll bring it down to just above the world origin there. So again, we're going to have it overlaying over those other tiles. Alright, so now we've got a circle, but we want to make it into a bullseye. Alright, so what do we do? Well, very easy, right? We inset. Alright, let's turn off proportional editing for a moment. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create bevel edges, so we're going to inset a little bit. Then we're going to, because we're already higher than that, we can bring that down. No, I think what I'm going to do is grab the outside edge and bring that down. I'm going to scale it up. There we go. That's a good idea. So what I can do is I can bring that edge below the tiles, but then coming up out of the tiles. There we go. So this we want to have only slightly above the tiles. Alright, now let's inset that again, and then insert it one more time. What this is going to do is create a little edge we'll do in a bit. So let's first inset it quite a bit so that we get the idea. We'll highlight that edge there and bring it down. Then highlight that. Now, so what we've got is a little seam here which will make it look nice. Then we're going to do that again. Insert just a tiny bit, insert just a tiny bit, and then insert a lot. Then insert a tiny bit, insert a tiny bit, insert a lot. Insert a tiny bit, insert a tiny bit, insert a lot. I suppose that's about enough right there. So what we'll do is insert a tiny bit, insert a tiny bit, and then we'll leave that alone from there. So let's grab each one of these rings that are supposed to create a little bevel and pull them down a little bit. That one is actually already it's already a little wrong here. Alright, there we go. So now we've got a ring in the center of the checkers. suppose the checkers are a little bit too much still. So let's take those and bring them down. Let's say 96 there. Right, and then we'll make them a little larger. So edit that. Pull that down. Place that right there. Still feels like an awful lot of checkers. And by the way, we can make this bigger and smaller rather easily by playing with that second array modifier. So if we need the floor to be bigger around, say 24, then we can do that. Right, let's take that all the way down this, say 64. Grow that center part there. And let's see if that is the right size. Looks like it's ever so slightly too big, so let's go into edit mode and shrink it just a slight bit by moving it up on the y-axis there. There we go. Alright, I think that'll be a perfect size there. Actually, let's go to the render mode and see how it looks. There are too many straight lines here. I think if I increase the number of tiles, that'll happen less. So I think I really do need to have the number of tiles be more. So let's do that. There we go. So that has gone back to the 96 tiles in one direction and 24 in the other. That looks better. The number of lines that we can see are better. Okay, so, and that is, alright, that's about correct. The placement and everything there. Alright, let's go take a look here. And now what we want to do is take the center part and make that colored as well. So let's take this face here, and this ring here, and this ring here, and let's go into vertex paint mode again. We want the face select, we want to make sure we got that dark grey, and then we fill in the dark grey there. Perfect. And that, well, that's a separate object. For some reason I thought I was modeling these both as the same object, but it looks like I'm not. So I need to take that center part and also give that the glossy shader. And the thing that makes it no shadow is I just come down here and put shadow mode none. Otherwise it's pretty much normal. Alright, there we go. Now we've got the floor under her feet, and we can again take a look at the render and see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Alright, thanks for watching everyone. We'll see you in the next one.